Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Greetings and welcome. In this video I will show you how to play Heroes of Vordë. Heroes of Vordë is a strategy card game. Your goal is to reduce your opponent's health to 0 by playing cards. The game is based on Bethesda's The Elder Scrolls Legends, while set in the world of my novels. The scene that you can see now is what will greet you after you load in the TableTop Simulator workshop mod Heroes of Vordë. Here we can see our health in blue and our opponent's health in red. You will play a deck. You can load the deck in from objects, saved objects, and then once you will save the deck, you will have decks here. For the tutorial, we will use this deck here. This will be your deck. A deck consists of 45 cards in the base game, and later on it will be expanded to 50. By pressing R, you can shuffle the deck. Your opponent will also have a deck that will be set here. You can move a single card or token by clicking on the card then dragging it, or you can move a token pile or your deck by holding left mouse button and then dragging it. At the start of the game, both of you will roll a dice. This will determine who goes first. While I rolled 4, our opponent rolled 9. This means that they will go first. The second player has the ring. After we rolled and determined who goes first, both players will draw 3 cards. You do this by hovering over the deck, then pressing 3. You can decide whether to keep these cards or not before starting the game. You can press F and flip a card, then put it back into your deck if you want to. You can put as many as you want of these 3. After you've put back the card, you will shuffle the deck again by pressing R, then draw as many as you need to draw to have 3 cards in hand. Then begins the first turn. At the start of the opponent's turn, he will gain a recess point and then play a card or just pass, and then we will come. We will gain a recess point, draw a card. Before continuing, let's see what type of cards are in the game. There are 4 types of cards: creatures, items, actions, and supports. Creatures are the most common type of cards. You will play these from hand onto the field. Items are played on creatures. Actions are one-time effects that will resolve on play. Supports are ongoing effects that will affect the entire game until they are removed. A creature has 3 stats. The first is power. The second is health. The third is armor. Items have the same. Power will determine how much damage a creature can deal, while health, how many it can take. Armor will reduce incoming damage in some cases. We will talk about this later. As you can see, each card has a cost. The cost will determine how many resource points you have to pay to play this card. Let's go back to the game. In our first turn, we have 1 resource point, but because we go second, we can use a ring charge to temporarily increase our resource points by 1. We will do this by deleting the ring, and then we will play Trainer, since this costs 2. In Heroes of Vordë, we have 2 lanes. One of them will be Field Lane, and one of them will be Shadow Lane. This is decided at the start of the game by the players. Let's say this is Field and this is Shadow. In Field Lane, when you play a creature, nothing happens to it. In Shadow, if you play a creature, it gains cover. A creature with cover cannot be attacked by enemy creatures until the cover is removed. Cover will be removed at the start of your next turn, or when a creature attacks. Let's put the trainer back into field, and then put the stats that are on the card above it. So the trainer has 1 power and 3 health. You can press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to quickly set the health to the right amount. If you can't see a card, you can press left Alt and then use the mouse wheel to adjust the size of the picture. You can do this in Hand 2 or with any tile of the game. When a creature is played, it cannot attack that turn. It will only be able to attack the next turn. Some creatures have ongoing effects, like Trainer, and some have one-time effects, like Damned Warrior. These will trigger on certain conditions. We'll talk about this later. Let's say that on the second turn, our opponent played a Tribe Shaman. This will have 2 power and 2 health. Then it's our turn. We gain a recess point, draw a card. The drawn card is Equal Health. We will use the ring to play Equal Health because it costs 3, and now with the 2 base recess point and the ring charge, we can play Equal Health. Equal Health has a keyword. These are shortened terms that are the same across the creatures. Charge means that this creature can attack the turn it is played. Equal Health has 2 power and 3 health. Because of Trainer, it will also gain a 3rd power. Now we attack with Equal Health. We can kill the Tribe Shaman. When you attack with a creature, it will deal damage equal to its power. Because of that, the Tribe Shaman dies. But when a creature attacks, it will be also dealt retaliation damage equal to the power of the enemy creature. This will mean that the Equal Health is dealt 2 damage. When a creature dies, it goes into the discard pile. Let's say our Equal Health died. You can always look into your discard pile. If we would have more than 1 creatures there, then we can look into the discard pile by clicking right mouse button, then search. You can do this with your opponent's discard pile as well. However, you cannot look into your deck unless a card tells you to specifically search for the card. Let's say we had a card that would require us to draw Blessing of Ereshkigal. We will search for the card, then put it into our hand. After that, because we looked into our deck, we will have to shuffle the deck before continuing to play. Let's talk about Armor. Armor is the 3rd stat on creatures. It will reduce incoming damage, but only if an enemy creature attacked your creature. In this scenario, let's say this is our turn. If we attack with Guardians of Wizardry Officer, the enemy Guardians of Wizardry Officer, we will deal only 1 damage to it, because we have 3 power, and this has 2 armor. So 1 damage is dealt. However, the retaliation damage will be 3, because the enemy creature has 3 power, and we were the ones attacking. This will mean our Guardians of Wizardry Officer will go down to 3. So you can see that armor only counts when an enemy creature attacks your creature. Armor will not reduce damage from actions, so this Firebolt will deal 2 damage regardless of armor, or from effects, so the Celidus Archer summon effect will deal 1 damage. Let's quickly go through the keywords. On the cards, keywords are set bold, and they also have a ring below the stats. The only keyword that does not have a ring is Charge. It is because Charge cannot be gained by a random effect. Charge means that a creature can attack the turn they are played. Next up, we have Drain. A creature with Drain will heal you, equal to the amount of the creature's power when they attack, or equal to the amount of damage dealt when damage is dealt through effect. Drain is only active on your turn, so when your opponent attacks your creature with Drain, it will not heal you. Next up, we have Rally. While Drain replaces the power tokens, Rally is put above the creature. When a creature with Rally attacks, it will buff a random creature in your hand by +1, +1, +0. When you rally, you have to count the creatures in your hand. In this case, although we have 5 cards, one of them is an action and one of them is an item, so they can't receive the rally's buff. So we will count 3 creatures. To decide where the buff goes, we will load in an object component dice and then choose a dice that will help us determine where the buff goes. We will choose d6 in this case. Then we roll the dice with R, and the buff goes to Mighty Ally. To apply the buff, we will click right mouse button, then go to name and write +1, +1, +0 in the bracket. Be mindful that the buff goes into name and not into description, because if it goes to name, then if you hover over the card, it will instantly show. But if you would have wrote this in description, then you have to hover over the card for a while to show it. When a creature with rally would receive another rally via another item or an effect, like we play Ashkir Reflex Bow on Ashkir Scout, then it will have 2 rallies. Then the rally's buff will go to the same creature, so a creature gets +2, +2, not 2 creatures get +1, +1. With receiving the Ashkir Reflex Bow, the creature also got a power. And I will show you how to put the Ashkir Scout on top again. You can either just, when you apply the item, do it like this, or just put it here, then go right mouse button, search, grab the Scout, put it to be the last, because in fact it will be the top one, and then it will be on top of the items again. Also, when you play a card that would generate other cards, like Raiding Party, then you can play the card. Then the Saladis this creates is in strength. You search for the cards. This creates 2 Saladis, so we will grab 2. We can delete this. And if you attack with Ashkir Scout now, then there is a high chance that it will hit a Saladis. Next up, we have Lethal. This also replaces the power token. If a creature has both Drain and Lethal, then put one of them on the power token's place and one of them just above the creature, like the rally. A lethal creature will kill an enemy creature instantly when it deals damage to that enemy creature. Reminder that armor reduces the damage taken by enemy creatures. If a lethal creature with 1 power would attack an enemy creature that has 1 armor, then it won't deal damage to this creature, meaning it will not kill the enemy creature. However, if the lethal creature has 2 power, regardless of how many health the enemy creature has, because the armor reduces the damage by 1, it will still deal 1 damage to the enemy creature, killing it because it is lethal. Next up, we have Breakthrough. When a creature deals damage to an enemy creature and your creature has more power than the enemy creature's health, the excess damage is only dealt to your opponent when your creature has Breakthrough. Next is Guard. A creature with Guard must be attacked by your opponent with creatures in the same lane before they will be able to attack creatures without Guard or you. Next, we have Regeneration. A creature with Regeneration will heal itself at the start of your turn. Ward will negate the first time a damage is dealt to a creature. When this happens, damage is reduced to 0 and the ward is broken. Thorns replaces the armor token. When a creature has thorns, the retaliation damage dealt by this creature will be equal to the creature's power and armor. Through random effects, only creatures with armor can gain thorns. Let's quickly go through the rest of the board. In a lane, you can have 3 creatures simultaneously. If you would want to play a 4th creature but you have a full lane, you either play it in the other lane, or you can sacrifice one of your creatures, meaning this goes instantly into the discard pile, to play the 4th creature in its stead. Like lanes, supports have 3 slots too. If you would want to play a 4th support, you will have to first sacrifice one of your supports that goes into the discard pile, and then play the 4th in its stead. Recess points will go up by 1 until turn 10. After that, it will always reset to 10. There is an exception to this. There are cards that have an effect that will raise your recess points. In these cases, we don't use the normal recess point token, but a darker one, raised recess point. When you gain a recess point, you can only use this recess point next turn, but your max recess point is already raised by 1. The third recess point type, temporary recess point, can be used for ring charges or for card effects. When attacking your opponent, you will break runes. When a report rune breaks, the player draws a card. You have report runes on 25 and 15. When a reinforcement rune breaks, you will draw a card. And if you have the max recess point for it, you can play it for free on your opponent's turn. When a flame rune breaks, you will deal 3 damage to your opponent. When a death rune breaks, you will lose the game. Reinforcement runes are found on 20 and 10. The flame rune is found on 5 and the death rune on 0. The only thing left to do is to discuss how to build a deck. For that, we have to look at card rarity. In Heroes of Vordë, cards have 3 rarities. They are determined by the frames around the name boxes. We have normal cards, legendary cards, and unique cards. Uniques are legendaries at the same time. You can have 3 copies of normal and legendary cards in the deck, while only 1 copy of a unique card. That a card is legendary usually doesn't affect the gameplay, but just signals the power level of a card. A deck consists of 45 cards. These cards can come from 2 main attributes. We have 5 attributes in the game: strength, willpower, agility, endurance, and intelligence. There are natural cards, which you can have in any deck, and there are multicolor cards, which are color combinations of 2 main color. You can only run a multicolor card that shares both of your colors. The last bag is for unobtainable cards. These are cards that can be only generated by other cards and not played in your starting deck. When you build a deck, you pull out the cards of the 2 chosen attributes, then you can search in them. Once you have the cards that you want to play, you can Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V them, and then build your deck. Let's say we will have a 9 card deck for the sake of this tutorial. Once your deck is ready, you can press right button, save object, name the deck, and then save it in TableTop Simulator. You will be later able to load it by clicking Objects, Saved Objects, and then your deck. It is recommended to create a folder in Saved Objects for decks that are from Heroes of Vordë. Before parting ways, I will quickly show you the Heroes of Vordë spreadsheet. In this, we have a database of all cards that are in the game, with stats, keywords, and the effects of these cards. Legendary cards are bold and uniques, bold and italic. We have random tables for creatures that generate other type of cards. Also there is directory for which attributes constitute which classes. an appendix for all terms and keywords. You can find here all terms that are on the cards that we haven't covered in this video. There is a tab for the order in which effects must be resolved. And on the last tab, we also have a deck builder in which you can put in your deck, and then it will give you a curve for your deck. And also if you fill out the text, you can have percentages. Everything to fill out these can be found here. Finally, I will show you another sheet that has all of my decks. If you don't want to build a deck, just play the game, you can grab one of these. Thank you for watching the tutorial video for Heroes of Vordë. In the description you can find a link to the Discord server on which you can find players to play against. The two sheets I have shown you will be in the description as well, just like a link to TableTop Simulator and another one to the TableTop Simulator workshop mod Heroes of Vordë. Thank you for watching and see you in the game.